Word up.
Resident Evil 4 Remake. Wow, what a chef's kiss of a game.
I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect.
But even that being said, there is one glaringly obvious issue I have with the remake, and indeed the original as well. This issue is beyond game-breaking, completely ruined my immersion into the RE4 world on my first playthrough. The issue I'm obviously and sarcastically referring to is the default pistol. Despite selling it to the merchant early on, Leon continues to brandish it around in every cutscene. I spent considerable time crafting the aesthetics of my outfit and my weapon, so to just have the default handgun suddenly appear in every cutscene felt insulting. Just like an STD, this handgun was apparently here to stay, so after my first playthrough, I decided to right this wrong. We time heisted back into Pueblo to see if it was possible to complete the game in a factually correct way, remaining loyal to the cutscenes. I set out to ask the question, could you complete Resident Evil 4 Remake using only the default pistol? So we start off our adventure by drifting into the Spanish mountainside with the boys, Police Sergeant and part-time plumber Mario and Constable Idubbbz. On our way to the village, Mario says he needs to stop to do a number 1, but I'm pretty convinced that it was a number 2. I'm quite socially awkward, but I thought it might be alright waiting with Idubbbz in the car, but after half an hour...
I have osteoporosis.
Yeah, I'm just going to go find Mario. As we wander slowly into the house, we are greeted with a terrible smell that's applied directly into our nostrils. What the hell was that? Was it what was cooking on the stove? Was it Mario's bowels? Or was it the weird crazy homeless man waiting behind the door for us? You just couldn't tell. I asked my newfound hobo friend,
"Where's the Italian?"
But we don't seem to get much of an answer out of him until we notice Mario's poop-stained wallet left on the floor. Our friend tries to apply his axe directly into our forehead as we'd clearly seen too much. After rearranging his head 45 degrees off his shoulders, we draw our pistol and signal the start of our story-accurate run. From here on out, nothing but the default pistol can be used. That means as soon as we get control of our inventory, we send our knife packing straight to storage. That's right, there's going to be no knifing, no blocking, no parrying, and there's certainly going to be no stabbing of the chainsaw guy's butthole on this run. So after murdering the innocent homeowner, we follow the smell of poop to the basement where we find Mario, who appears to have done an Elvis and tragically suffered a heart attack while straining on the toilet. We start with a single magazine, which seems a bit poorly prepared for a rescue mission, so early on, I wasn't sure how much ammo we were going to have access to or need. With that in mind, we do a tactical exit out of the nearest window and find our first typewriter. Resident Evil 4 Remake now offers us the ability to customize our attaché case, which is a cool addition.
Hey, that's pretty good.
We stick on the silver attaché case for increased drop rates for handgun ammo and a charm that gives us a chance to craft extra handgun ammo. Very poggers. On entering Pueblo, we see Idubbbz roasting marshmallows and himself with members of the village, which is a nice piece of community engagement by local law enforcement. Rather than go in guns blazing and risk my spinal column being realigned, we proceed to start the inaugural Pueblo Marathon, clutching in a PB whilst we wait for the old farts to be called in for bingo. After the village, we scour every nook and cranny for any handgun ammo. This old grandma falls down the stairs right in front of us before we sanitize the windmill area and the cowman. We follow the signs to Mar-a-Lago and clear out the fishing village using my personal favourite technique, friendly fire.
I can't believe you've done this.
The dynamite lovers, the chainsaw enthusiasts, and the Molotov enjoyers all seem to have no concept of aim or care where their attacks end up, which, works for us. We use that to our advantage throughout the run and allow the dynamite woman to save us a ton of ammo as she racks up a 7 kill streak.
Harrier's waiting for your mark.
We're just getting ready for our slumber party with Luis when we're interrupted by the guy from Jeepers Creepers, who slips me some sort of illegal substance causing us to black out. We wake up slightly concerned, but with our virtue still intact, all seems okay. However, like all good blackouts, all of our stuff is missing, which is a slight issue here as no knives means no Splinter Cell takedowns in this section. Instead, we just have to full on send it through, we get our ankles nibbled a bit, and we gather our pistol and gear back up before meeting the beautiful merchant for the first time. Unfortunately, on this occasion, there's not much he can offer us during this run, so we snap up the laser sight, bag a few upgrades for the pistol, and make our way to the mountainside. We use our patent-pending friendly fire strat to blow up as many granadas as we can, cleaning up a few stragglers before slipping back to place the crank in. We fly past Dr. Salvador, cripple this poor man trying to take a dump.
You just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
Before helping the poor good boy out of the trap in the garden. Michael Bay is apparently in Pueblo filming Transformers 7 and blows up the clock tower before a pack of not-so-good boys arrives with murderous intent. We kick a few chairs around, we say hi and bye to the church, and watch Mario's headless corpse be dropped into the river to feed the local wildlife. Which, I just want to say, is another great community outreach initiative that I think we can all get behind. Del Lago section is pretty plain sailing, to be honest. We sniff out every bit of ammo we can, we throw a few harpoons around and avoid as many enemies as we can. On the way back to the church, we wind down with some fun at the shooting gallery to help earn some handgun crafting charms before we're then forced to wind up as we fight El Gigachad. The red goat-faced guy awakens the beast, who clearly hasn't been missing shoulder day at the gym. I mean, this boy is stacked. We land our headshots, we get an assist from the good boy who helps bite some cankles before we shoot the exposed plaga on his back, taking the large one down in 37 bullets. The only worrying part of this fight was when the dog was hanging off El Gigante's ankle and I thought he was about to be squished. God, this was a real heart in your mouth moment. We collect Ashley from the church and we make a disturbing discovery in Father Mendez' loft. It looks as though he's been recording explicit OnlyFans content and selling cultist feet pictures online. It truly was the stuff of nightmares. After being rocked by this revelation, we safely transport Ashley back to Luis's cabin and do a few laps around the house, dodging everyone and letting Luis do the majority of the legwork.
Nice spare.
We showed the chainsaw babes our slick moves before giving them first-degree burns and helping save a good chunk of our handgun ammo in the process. We're currently sat at about 148 rounds, which would have felt healthy had Father Mendez not found out that we've been snooping in his attic. We make a run for our lives, and despite thinking we'd given him the slip, he finds us immediately, proclaims that nobody, not even the Lord, can know of his transgressions, and so declares that we must become unalive to protect his secret. With his bald head shining in the moonlight, we actually don't do too bad against Human Centipede Mendez, getting 31 shots into his back eye to get him to his second stage, before using another 39 on his second lobster stage. All in all, not too troubling. And just like that, the village section was over, and the castle section began, which, immediately was shaping up to be a very normal experience. On the subject of normal experiences, the last person I expected to see here was none other than Hillary Clinton, who kindly greets us to her castle. She continues to call me Mr. Kennedy over and over again, which I know is my name, but leads me to believe that she had me confused with JFK. I tried to explain that she had the wrong person, but before we can resolve the case of mistaken identity, she releases her welcome party on us. We fight our way through and fall into the dungeon where we find her deformed husband, Bill Clinton, in the basement.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Whilst being a visually delectable boss, Bill was pretty easy and we take him down first time. Ashley's immensely impressed by our chandelier riding before we enter the water room and choose violence. We pacify the area before protecting Ashley as she does some cranking above whilst we take a spanking below. En route through the garden, we tell Ashley that we're not sure her coat is quite working with the outfit and might be dragging down the appeal of the group, which she doesn't take well, stabbing me before running off to change. We treat ourselves to the body armour and make a few sellings to the merchant before we sneak into the Red Pajama Guy's seminar for how to love yourself and your plaga, the content of which is apparently mind-blowing. Our man in red tries to induce a seizure, but we use the red barrels to our advantage and retrieve his chandelier before bumping into Ada, where it's clear Leon's got some unresolved tension from Raccoon City as he fully commits to trying to stab her in the face. Absolutely no mercy. Ada does a Batman and vanishes into thin air before we're introduced to our next plaga variant, the Nightmare Fuel Puppeteer variant. We're getting slightly anxious about my ammo count here, so we bomb it through the next section before we reach Helm's Deep and defend the Deeping Wolf from the massive Urukai Berserker. This little bumhole peppers us with rocks the whole time, which we do use to help kill all of the enemies around us. Eventually we get to the cannon where Aragon gives us the command to fire. We find Ashley having a cry on the sofa and we join her before we rush through the maze of anxiety. It's not a particularly enjoyable trip, particularly for Ashley, but afterwards we treat ourselves to some upgrades at the merchant and sit down for something to eat. We grab the serpent and goat statues fairly easily, but the lion statue is guarded by the Plaga Knights, which unfortunately means we've got to spend some ammo. We're able to use the kicks and fire thrown by Ashley as best as we can before we release Ashley for her solo adventure. Just as we're about to celebrate our reunion, she's re-abducted, leaving us to fight the Novistadors. I think this whole section was a sign for me to book an eye test, because even with the Novistadors' less than effective camouflage, I still ran into practically all of them. I'm literally playing like I've got my eyes sewn up. After a few bullets, a few kicks, and being covered in litres of Novistador vomit, we now find ourselves facing the rest of Hillary's entourage, Donald Trump and Monica Lewinsky. This room is just absolute carnage. Between me running around like a lunatic, everyone throwing stuff at me, and the Garradors mowing everything and everyone down in their path, we're able to use some tactical friendly fire and we dispatch them both with ease. Oh my god! We break into the frame room, but we find Ashley just downing cocktails with Hillary. Why am I here worrying and busting my arse trying to help rescue her? My continued protesting eventually gets me thrown out down to the basement by Hillary's bouncer for bringing down the vibe of the party. Oh no! And to make sure I don't come back, he follows me down to permanently remove me from life. I use this opportunity to Kirby up all the ammunition here and freeze and dodge Verdugo until the lift arrives and we can vacate with all of our resources intact. As we reach the top of the lift, Luis just oozes sex appeal here whilst offering us some of the finest drugs he has to offer. We finally get some decent RNG for attacher case bonuses and we now sit at a nice 65% craft bonus chance. At the mines, when retrieving the dynamite, we employ our World at War zombies experience and train everyone behind us whilst Luis and the dynamite and Molotov Ganados dish out the damage on our behalf. Once we blow our way through the blockade, the Urukai Berserker makes a return,
How is your sex life?
but this time he's got a friend. We're able to even the odds, however, from the original.
The odds are fair. 2 on 2.
The easiest strat was to get the non-armoured troll to kneel over the grate and drop him into the smelter. After Luis goes full Legolas, we shoot the dynamite, blowing another portion of its brain out and euthanize it via the lava as well. We jump onto Disney's new Indiana Jones ride, where for some reason we're given Luis's Red 9 instead of our own default pistol. I mean, this is a borderline failure, I guess, right? Is it like Del Largo's Harpoons, where we're forced to use the weapons without our consent? I think on a technicality, we'll count it as failure 1 and zoom through this section. Our fun is cut short, however, as Luis is CSGO assassinated in the back by none other than Gary Busey. Busey tells us that knives are faster than guns when we try and draw a pistol, which I disagree with, but apparently Leon falls for the bait and pulls out his knife, which doesn't exist. Ugh. This is really screwing with my challenge and my opening argument in more ways than one. During this fight scene, I literally cannot equip my pistol and I'm forced to fight with a knife. I spent ages dodging Gary, thinking that he might be on a timer, but no. So we grab the knife from the start, give him a slice or two, and embrace failure number 2. We reluctantly leave Luis's dead body behind, promising him that the memories we'd made together would live on forever, and that Busey would get his comeuppance. We commit $60,000 worth of criminal damage before riding over to the clock tower. Hillary gives us a standing ovation on our arrival, and we use the homage to herself she's built and her massive balls to burn and crush her colleagues before heading to the lift. I was going to leave our man in red alone and save some bullets, but his enforced migraines all the way to the top of the lift would give me a migraine in real life. Hillary hands Ashley over to Gary Busey before we can heroically save the day, so we give her the double tap before she can finish her speech. But little did we know that she'd just shed her lizard skin and can now produce crude oil at will.
The United States of America would like to know your location.
We had a good amount of bullets saved up for this fight, and eventually after 68 rounds we released the Clintons' hold over the village. Leon and Ada continue to rage undress each other with their eyes as we head towards the island. We skip past the Skynet Terminators, use some tripwires and rockets to our advantage.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how...
And reach the most disturbing area of the game.
Fuck this.
Perhaps the area I was least looking forward to, the Regeneradors. Not only was I poop my pants scared of these absolute nightmare-inducing fat boys in the original, but I read a note on my way in through the lab that sent chills down my spine. The Doctor proclaims that his creations straight from the portal of hell itself were essentially immortal. Words that no gamer wants to hear on their pistol-only challenge run. Running away with crap in my pants from the first two and back to Papa Merchant was fine for the first section, but one of them downstairs had inserted a wrench inside its anus, and according to this note, it needed to be retrieved to progress the story. How convenient. If the legends of Tales were true, if I wasn't able to kill one of these with a pistol, this run was over here. I set out to conduct my own episode of Mythbusters, and it turns out whoever wrote this note is a f***ing liar. They can be killed. They just take a fair amount of ammo to do so. 114 bullets to be precise.
Disgusting!
So my next conundrum on my crossword was how I was going to find out who had the wrench inside their bum-bum. Could I ask them? Could I see it? Did they make a metal clang when I shot them in the stomach? Without a metal detector, I was forced to adopt the traditional method of elimination. I spawned all of the goons into the room and killed each and every one of them, one by one, to find out who dropped the wrench and reloaded my checkpoint. Lucky for me, when you move out of this door, the boys will slither back to their spawn points so you can track who's who. So logically, after shooting out their heads like 50 times in a row, we killed all of them and found that the dude in the back, this guy, had the wrench. My only gripe here was spending the 114 rounds to do it. I'd become very tight throughout my playthrough and was unwilling to part with my hard-earned bullets. Now, as we're all probably very aware, times are tough. If food prices are up, gas prices are up, inflation is up, and the merchant no longer refills your gun up when upgrading your capacity. This truly was a sign of economic hardship. However, as I had accumulated the GDP of Slovakia at this point, as I had nothing to buy, what I could do is sell my gun to the merchant and buy it back, to which my boy kindly provides us with 10 complimentary bullets on the house. So, not knowing how much ammo I'd need for the sewers, Krauser, or Sadler, I erred on the side of caution and ran downstairs, emptied my clip into the wrench boy, ran back upstairs, sold my gun, and bought it back and rinsed and repeated. This did take like 20 trips, and I'm going to be honest, I do regret doing it, but we got the wrench back without wasting any additional bullets, so, you know, that's a plus. With our fancy new keycard, we give Ashley a steroid injection, hit the most stressful button press of my life, and find some fish buried in some garbage, which surprisingly allows us to recover health instead of giving us Ebola. Sadler reveals his fresh new trim, which I'm going to be honest, I'd give a solid -1 out of 10 before Ashley John Wicks the 2 bedsheet wearers. We then make a shocking revelation that we have a stalker who's pulled our Tinder profile pictures and displayed them with a message saying that they're waiting. Please be Ada, please be Ada, please be Ada, please be Ada, please be Ada. Unfortunately, the ominous trail of tomato sauce leads all the way to none other than Gary Busey. It was Luis's murderer, the man who ripped away potentially the friendship of the year. The spin-off TV shows, the merchandise, this man had ruined it all.
What does it matter to you anyway? Everything!
After Gary throws a flashbang directly into my corneas, we dish out some headshots and somehow spray paint him completely red. It was at this point Busey realises that the default pistol cannot be matched and that in fact the gun is faster than a knife. He reveals his secret weapon, which is apparently a severe case of fibrodysplasia, which I'm not sure is the display of unlimited power he thinks it is. It's in fact a severe medical condition. I came into the Busey fight with 374 bullets to my name. Would it even be enough? Had I saved enough throughout my playthrough? Yeah, I mean, totally. I was the equivalent of Arnie from Commando at this point, and we finished the fight with 293 bullets remaining, which is just an absurd amount of ammo. As he lied in a pool of his own blood, Gary Busey apologises for killing our friend. He understands now the error of his ways and how much Luis meant to us, and asks for mercy. Hatred was like a poison. If we didn't forgive Gary now, we would never know true peace. It would eat us alive every day, just like living in a cold, cruel, Luisless world. Maybe we could forgive him and move on with our life. Nah! On our final stretch, Mike makes his return, and with a very welcome offer to murder everyone. But with 323 bullets left, I went full Rambo on the island. We silently avoid the Regenerador birthing pool and are then subject to a non-consensual exorcism by the Lord himself. We grab Ashley and carry her to Luis's lab, battling the effects of the MDMA I just took to help push through the final stretch of this challenge. We burn the Plagas out, and it's time to suit up for the final boss battle. We shoot Ada out, who absolutely slams into the floor at the speed of light from at least 30 feet, breaking every single bone in her body.
That's quite big.
With 291 bullets to our name, we begin battling Sadler's Phase 1 form. Once he goes to the second stage, this was it. It was just his embryo form left and we were home for tea and biscuits. But we find ourselves in a slight problem. After puncturing the embryo, Ada throws us the rocket launcher. Now, in the original, you can actually ignore this and continue the fight bare knuckle should you so choose. However, the remake doesn't permit this. You have to use the rocket launcher. No matter what I did, you could not defeat Sadler any other way. I even went back and replayed the fight, thinking that it may be because of the lack of damage output the handgun offers. But even with the most powerful guns in the game, it was just no use. This was inevitable failure number 4. I could feel Ashley's judgment burning a hole into the back of my head, and with an immense air of disappointment surrounding us, we ride out of there and off into the sunset. It was a pretty tense ride home. Ashley was right, our first Resident Evil 4 remake challenge had ended dubiously. Despite the 4 usage being completely non-optional, the harpoons for Del Lago, the Red 9 for the minecart ride, Krauser's knife fight, and Sadler's rocket launcher, I would technically say that Resident Evil 4 remake can't be beaten truthfully with only the default pistol. You know, we fought the good fight, but I will now enter a 7-day period of intense meditation to help atone for my failures here. But when I return, the next challenge I've planned is some serious business, which I'm certain will be the best yet. So if you enjoy gaming challenges, Resident Evil and memes, feel free to stick around. I'll see you mad lads in the next one.